Alright, and welcome back, everyone. We're going to be talking about more headcanons now. For Rexel Jet characters. This time, we're going to be talking about the Sodor and Mainland Railways engines, specifically their numbers 1 and 3. Now then, let me just explain what the Sodor and Mainland Railway is quick. The Sodor and Mainland Railway was the first railway to use locomotives. Opened in 1891, trains ran on the line for 40 years before the company went bankrupt and operation and seized in 1901. 3 engines were known to run this line, but only one of them appeared in the Railway series books, and his appearance was brief. And that, of course, was Neil. Anyways, we're not here to talk about him. We'll be talking about his brothers, numbers 1 and 3. Their names are Steele and Emile. Rexel Jets takes on the S&Ms 1 and 3. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, as much as I like these two, let's be honest, there's no one beating Clive and Matthew. They're the definitive takes on S&M's other 2 box tanks. Hands down, okay? But that doesn't mean I can't talk about my headcanons for these 2, so let's get into it. Alright, Steele. Now then, the 3 engines that ran on the line were all members of the same class, the Nielsen box tank. As the name suggests, these are a class of boxy tank engines built by Nielsen's of Glasgow. Now then, despite how it's said that they were all members of the same class, it's worth noting that these little engines came in a number of guises depending on the type of work they were expected to do. And he did the unthinkable and gave Steele a cab. His line of thoughts that the S&M probably had him rebuilt with a cab and were planning to do so with the other 2, but never happened, and probably because of money problems. And so Steele was the only engine on the line to receive a cab. And it was both a success and a failure, because while Steele's crew did like the shelter of his cab, the downside is that it upset Steele's balance, and he would wobble along the line, sometimes even knocking his crew off his footplate. Pictured here is probably one of the last few times Steele was ever trusted with passenger trains. And the thing about Steele is that he's kind of brash. Probably where his name comes from. Now then, let me talk about my headcanon first. My headcanon is that Steele becomes preserved and is placed in a railway museum. Specifically, we're talking like Sir Robert Norramby's railway museum. If you want to go over there, okay. And he would interest some people, as you would rarely even see a Nielsen box tank with a cab attached. That's not even a thing, I believe. And while Steele's happy in the museum, he does miss his siblings from time to time. Sometimes even regretting his brashness towards them. He was also a bit clumsy, let me tell you. Kind of like the boomer of the show, but I digress. Kind of like the boomer of his days, but I digress. Okay. Another thing I want to add on Steele is that he is occasionally brought back into service, but only to help out with trains that that are either too heavy for just one engine or an engine's just out of service. It's because of an overhaul or a repaint, something like that. So that's Steele for you. It's my headcanon. Now let's talk about, oh boy, Emile. Oh boy, where do I begin? Oh. Now then, as I said earlier, the Nielsen box tank had a number of different variations. One design that particularly stuck out to Rexel Jet was the variant where the engine's frames are extended to accommodate a trailing axle, turning the design from an 040 into an 042. His line of thought is that the Soder and Mainland Railway probably had one of their engines rebuilt in this form. And Emile's rebuild proves so. He was usually the railwayman's preferred job due to his extra pair of wheels providing smooth running. He would while Steele was brash but clumsy, and Neil was slow but kind, Emile prided himself on his sensibility and determination, and he would often squabble at the unstable and uncouth Steele. But even kind Neil wasn't safe from Emile's overbearing behavior. And he would often boast that he could sometimes run the railway by himself. And eventually, his wish would come true. Neil was the first to go, being sold off to the Crovansgate mining works. Steele eventually became worn out, and with no money to spare an overhaul, he was scrapped. Emile was the last engine back on the railway, with no one else to fall back on for help. And then, the company went bankrupt. The final train departed, and it was to connect with Scarloi's train at Crovan's Gate. And eventually, the passengers arrived via a stagecoach. Poor Emile had become so worn out that he had completely given up the guts before making it to Crovan's Gate. Yeah. Do you see anything from that? Yeah. Emile was a huge jerk. And my headcanon, and Emile learns this lesson that sometimes help is more important than just bragging that you can do everything on your own. And let's just say that in my headcanon, Sir Topham Hatt finds Emile rusting away in a siding, and he brings him to the steamworks to be overhauled and repainted. While doing so, Emile was thinking about all the things he had said to Steele and Neil. He was in the wrong for being rude to them. And I guess you could say that because of his behavior, he gets relegated to mining services in Maya as a way to show that sometimes help is more, just to show that sometimes you can't always do anything on your own. And like I said earlier, Steele gets preserved by Sir Robert Norby as part of his railway museum. And Emile would often see Steele and Neil from time to time, and even confessed his apologies towards them. They were skeptical at first, but when Emile truly meant it, they accepted it. And all three of them were chill now. Emile can still be a little overconfident from time to time. Whenever end of the day, without solving his problems with his brothers. And he is especially happy to call them his siblings. And that's my headcanons for Steele and Emile. I hope you guys like this. And like I said, as much as I like them, let's face it, nothing's beating Clive and Matthew, hands down. But that doesn't mean I can't still talk about Steele and Emile, because I still think they're good at takes, though. Now let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.